I didn't expect this to hit me so hard. Paul McCartney at 83, it isn't just about a legend aging. It's about what happens after the roar fades and the house gets quiet. I'm Sarah Reed, and this is one of those stories where the spotlight can't reach. I've spent years digging through archives and sitting with old interviews, and with Paul, the truth comes wrapped in silence. Mothers gone too soon, friends who never came back, a love he couldn't save, and a love that saved him. And now, he moves through his days softly, like he's walking through a museum of his own life. If you've ever heard Let It Be at 2 a.m. and felt less alone, you already know why this matters. Understanding how he lives now will change how you hear those songs. It changed it for me. The boy from Liverpool grew into the world's heartbeat, and somehow ended up a man who feeds the birds, checks the garden, and still fears forgetting the voices that built him. Tonight on Golden American Legends, I want to show you the calm and the ache, the dignity and the weight. Stay with me because behind the smile, there's a quiet that says, "Here's where I always choke up." A 14-year-old Paul standing in a house that suddenly feels too big because his mother Mary is gone. Post-war Liverpool wasn't gentle. It was ration books, bomb scars, and that battered, upright piano his dad Jim kept tuning like it was a promise. I picture that living room tea gone cold, grief sitting in the corner, and a kid deciding that songs might be the only way to breathe. When I first visited Forthland Road, it felt less like a landmark and more like a heartbeat. You can almost hear those early chords, half prayer, half dare. Music wasn't a hobby for him. It was survival. And when he met John, two boys with the same missing piece found a language that didn't need explaining. They didn't know they were building the scaffolding of modern pop. They were just trying to fix the silence. If you've ever lost someone and reached for a melody, you get it. That's where Paul's genius started, in absence. That's the thread that still pulls on him at 83. And it's where this story turns from bright beginnings to a light that always flickered. I love the Beatles mythology as much as anyone. Abbey Road crosswalks, Penny Lane memories, those sleeves tucked just so, but inside the fairy tale, there's friction. After Brian Epstein died, Paul stepped into a captain's chair he never really wanted. That smile we all know, it started looking like armor. The Lennon-McCartney magic turned into a tug of war, two geniuses trying to outrun a storm. And then the wildest thing, being alive while the world convinces itself you're dead. The 1966 conspiracy wasn't cute. It was dehumanizing. Imagine waking up to clues on your own album covers. I've interviewed artists about pressure, but that is another galaxy. Fame gave Paul a planet. It also handed him a void. What I admire still, he kept writing. Yesterday, Blackbird, Hey Jude. These aren't just hits. They're letters to the wounded parts of us. But every ovation has a quiet after it. And when the cheers stop, the ghosts line up. That's the toll. That's the part we rarely want to see. The breakup wasn't a bang, it was a slow tear. John said he was leaving, and Paul took that news to a farm in Scotland and tried to disappear. I've heard people romanticize that era, sheep sweaters, homemade tracks. But listen closely and you'll hear a man coming apart. McCartney and Ram sound like therapy sessions he let us overhear. Critics rolled their eyes then. Funny how time keeps receipts. Now we praise the raw nerve and the weird beauty. Wings wasn't a vanity project, it was a lifeboat. He pulled Linda on stage, took the sneers, and kept going. Mull of Kintyre didn't need anyone's permission, it just needed wind over grass and a heart that refused to quit. I respect that so much. When you lose the people who understood you without words, you build new rooms, you keep talking to the music and hope it talks back. And it did. But survival doesn't erase the bruise, it just teaches you how to carry it. That lesson follows him into every quiet morning now. I'm going to say it, Linda was the great love. Not flashy, not performative, just steady, present. I've watched their home videos, and it's the small things that kill me. The kitchen dancing, the kids piled on the sofa, the way she didn't treat a Beatle like a myth. When she got sick, the same disease that took his mother, the universe felt cruel. Paul said, I cried for a year. I believe him. Some grief never drains. It just changes shape. After she died, he walked more, talked less, kept her causes alive like a promise. And then came a marriage that hurt in a different way. Loud, public, messy. That kind of heartbreak ages you from the inside. He didn't lash out, he just survived it. I think that restraint is its own kind of courage. Eventually, Nancy came into the frame, like a deep breath. No headlines, no chaos, just calm. At 83, that calm matters more than applause. It's the difference between sleeping through the night and staring at the ceiling until dawn. And yes, he still talks to the past. We all do. I'm a sucker for haunted places. The good kind, the kind haunted by love. Paul's homes are basically a map of his soul. Forthland Road, grit and first light. Cavendish Avenue, genius behind a gate. Scotland's High Park Farm, the rebuild, muddy boots and songs that smell like rain. The Hamptons house Linda loved, kept like a shrine of sunlight. A tree in Sussex from George. Tell me you wouldn't stop and say hello. I would. I have to my own tree for my grandmother. These aren't just addresses. They're rooms that learned his laughter and his silence. Even the Manhattan penthouse that never fit says something. Money can't warm a place that doesn't hold your memories. Beverly Hills became a place to breathe again when the world was too loud. At 83, he moves through these spaces like he's curating an exhibit. This is where we laughed, this is where I broke, this is where I stitched myself back together. And every doorway keeps the past from getting too far away. Here's the part that stings. His life now looks gentle, and yet it's heavy. Mornings with tea, yoga, long walks, a plant-based routine he's kept like a vow to his grandkids. He's left the vices behind, he jokes, he writes, he remembers. But he's admitted this fear that makes my chest tighten. What if one day the memories blur the voices of Mary, John, George, Linda? That's the kind of sadness you can't photograph. You only feel it in the pause between sentences. And still he works. The Got Back tour packed arenas. A new album finished. The man could retire on a mountain of royalties, but purpose doesn't retire. When he steps on stage and the first chord hits, you can see the years fall away. Then the house gets quiet again, and the ghosts come home. Both can be true. So is his life sad now? In moments, yes. It's also tender, disciplined, strangely peaceful. It's a life that honors the past without living only inside it. That's harder than it sounds. Do you hear his songs differently now? I do. Hey Jude feels like a hand on your shoulder. Let It Be sounds like a prayer he's still whispering. When you strip away headlines and money and the myth of the immortal Beatle, here's what's left. A man who kept choosing love, work, and decency when bitterness would have been easier. He turned a mother's absence into melodies that held the world together for 3 minutes at a time. He loved a woman well and lost her twice, once to illness, once to time. He forgave what he could. He changed what he must. He's also a lesson in editing your life. Give up what numbs you, keep what steadies you. Plant the tree from a friend. Keep the house that remembers your favorite laugh. Write another song even if no one asked. That's the quiet courage of 83. On Golden American Legends, we celebrate the shine, but we respect the shadows that made it. Paul's story isn't just his, it's ours. If a McCartney song ever walked you through a hard night, tell me in the comments which one and why. I'll be reading. And maybe tonight, play one you haven't heard in years. See if it doesn't find you right where you are. I'll leave you with this. The house gets quiet. The stage goes dark, but the song still plays, sometimes in the room, sometimes only in your chest. That's Paul at 83. Strong, funny, tender, and yes, shadowed by what he's lost. Not tragic, human, and somehow more moving than the myth. If this resonated, tap like so other folks who need it can find it. Subscribe for more stories that make the legends feel alive. We're just getting started. What chapter of Paul's life surprised you most today? Drop it below. Thank you for watching, truly. I'm Sarah Reed and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care of your memories. They're the music you keep.